Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome back to Football Heritage TV. The transfer window, I've heard a rumour that it's open. I've heard a rumour. I don't know for sure, but I've heard a rumour that the transfer window is open. And I'm seeing that other clubs are either breaking the rules by buying players or are actually acting like a proper football club. Which one is it? Are they all breaking the rules and Spurs are staying within the guidelines? Because this is utter incompetence. This is incompetence of the highest level. I don't want to hear any excuses now. We've tried. There's no excuses. There are 6 days, 8 hours, and 21 minutes. 6 days, 8 hours, and 21 minutes. As of now, this second. Yes, I have a countdown. Yes. 6 days, 8 hours, 21 minutes. And Tottenham are sitting here in a Champions League campaign season with 22 players. 22 players. It is an utter shambles. An utter shambles. Now, when fans like me say things like this, and before I go on, actually, big up to my sponsors, okjersey.com. Big up to those guys. If anybody does want quality replica shirts, and by the way, I'll be wearing some of them soon. I'm just waiting for my shirts to arrive from them. If anyone does want quality replica shirts, because obviously the club shop are very expensive, it's not just Spurs, by the way, all shirts, then please either go on to okjersey.com or click on the QR code to see if you can get the shirt of your choice. Adults and kids, all catered for, full kits or just the shirts. It's completely up to you. But big up to okjersey.com and keep a watch out. Because in the next 2 weeks, we're going to have a second sponsor. That's right, baby. The second sponsor. But back to Spurs. Back to Spurs. When people say things like, oh, the meltdown, you're damn bloody right there's a meltdown. Because what the F are we doing? Why can every other club make transfers look easy? And Tottenham just, we're so crap at it. We're so crap in the market, aren't we? Like, oh, but we tried for Eze. Did we really try? Did we? Backwards and forwards for free. Did we really try? Oh, but we tried. How can we be this bad? How can we be this bad? Listen, not even moaning, just asking. How can we be this bad at transfers? 6 days to go. 6 days to go. And don't you know it, Paul? I've had more sponsorships in the last 3 weeks than Spurs have had signings. It's just mental. Like, I'm sitting around. I'm looking at the numbers. I'm genuinely looking at the numbers of the squad. We have not got a full quota for a squad. Spurs have got 22 footballers. Now, that is excluding Madison, Kulu, and Dragashin, who can't play this side of 2026. So we have got 22 footballers. That's assuming that Hill, Solomon, and Basuma leave. Now, if they don't, we've got 25. But if they don't leave, let me paint this picture for you. If they don't leave, Tottenham Hotspur's window will have been the 2 loan players from last year and Takai with Kudus and Paulinho. Outgoings would have been a shed load of kids, Sonny for 20 odd million, and Josh Keeley for 1 million. And someone who likes talking about numbers, here he is. Connor, my man. Connor?
Yeah.
Connor, did you know, right, not only this guy who's managed to sign his own channel 2 sponsorships in a week, maybe I should be doing the Spurs dealings. Did you know that there are 6 days, 8 hours, and 17 minutes of the transfer window to go? Did you know that?
I did, mate. But the window's not shut yet, so we can't judge it yet. We can't judge it yet.
Oh, Connor, good morning. Good morning. Do you know what
Morning.
I love, Connor, right? Welcome to you. And if you haven't, please do follow Connor over on X at Leavionomics1882, which isn't the year he was born, but the year our famous club was born, the famous club. I started the show by asking a question, Connor, of maybe all the other clubs are breaching the rules and the window isn't actually open. Maybe we're the ones that are in the right here, because there's being bad in a window, Connor. There's being incompetent, and then there's this utter shower of shite that Spurs are right now. Where's your head at with it? You're more level-headed than me. You're politer than me. But as a Spurs fan who goes and stuff, where's your head at with the state of play with 6 days to go?
I mean, it's absolutely disgraceful. You've all of the adjectives that you just used to describe it are spot on, mate. I think look, we were told at the start of the window, wait for the 1st of July. That's when we'll start seeing some serious business. Then we were told, wait until the pre-season tour, we'll get it all sorted before we go on the tour. Then we were told, can't judge it until the end of the window. And now we're here, as you say, with 6 days or so left, and it has been an absolute shambles. And look, I know people don't like it when we say this, because you come to the same conclusion as I do. But for me, and this is as Kudus and Paolino have both been fantastic signings, as already has been shown. But I think with the context of where we are and what others are doing, the fact we finished 17th, the fact we've got a new manager, the fact we got the golden ticket of Champions League money, which we wouldn't have been expecting, the fact that we are 6 years into the new stadium with all of those revenues flowing in, for me, this is as bad as those windows when we didn't sign anyone, because of the context of the work that we should have done with all of that stuff. So it has been an absolute shower of shit. And I think this has to prove beyond any reasonable doubt that ENIC and Levy, for anyone that was still on the fence, if they are still on the fence now, I don't know what to tell them. I mean, if you're not of the opinion that ENIC need to go and that Levy needs to go, given this window, I give up, to be honest.
Connor, even me, I've been Levy out since 2007, and this window, I just softened a little bit. I softened that stance, and now I feel like, like on the internet, people love talking about mud. I've never known mud talked about so much in my life. I'm in it. I'm in it. I truly thought to myself, they've had the wake-up call. 17th, 22 defeats, scraped through the Europa League. I'm thinking, surely. And do you know what it is, Connor? We make it look so difficult. I'm seeing Nottingham Forest, right? I think they've made something like 9 or 10 signings. We're now hearing that they're in for, is it Dakwa from Strasbourg? And also, I saw this morning that they're about to ready a bid for the Leicester City left back, Christensen, right? And you look at it, and I'm not talking about us buying those players, Connor, but I'm looking at this going, how is a relative, I don't want to call Forest a small club because they've got a huge history. They have. I only say that to wind up Wolfie. They've got a huge history, but this is the first time they've got back into European competition for like 30 years or something. It's like, I'm pretty sure it's like 25, 30 years since they got Europe. And they're going, right, we need a squad. We can't do what we did last year. Bang, bang, bang. You join. We're sitting here going, nah, don't worry about that. Frank will work miracles. It's mad. It's absolutely mad.
It is, mate. And it all comes down to relative ambition. And for me, our relative ambition to our size is I'm trying to think of anyone worse in the league. I think ours is the worst. I think our owners have the least relative ambition on the footballing side of any ownership, and that's been proven true in this window again. I think look, there's always excuses as well, isn't there? There's we can't attract this player, we can't do this. Well, there's been players that have wanted to come, right? Kudus and Paolino obviously did. If you agree what's said, Savinio agreed personal terms, obviously as they ended up going to Arsenal. But you're not telling me that we couldn't have signed players to improve this squad. I'm just not having it, and it's just been incompetence on a different scale. Again, from as I say, Enoch and Levy set the parameters in which the club operate, and they don't show enough ambition. Langer is obviously a complete wet blanket as well. I assume he'll be another one who gets the axe in September, and then we'll hire another director of football, and then we'll all be told, wait until January, we're going to go really huge in January. And then we'll start to get all of the links after January in March and April and May as people are renewing their season tickets. And, we'll be told next summer's the summer we're really going to go again. And we'll just live in this constant Groundhog Day of false promises and lies, and people will eat it up. And I see comments, people are saying, don't believe the in the knows about these players. And look, I'm of that opinion as much as anyone, right? The in the knows talk bollocks and they don't know what they're talking about, right? But equally at the same time, that's a little bit of a red herring because we should be in for more players anyway.
Yeah,
We
yeah,
should
yeah,
have done
yeah.
a
Of
huge
course,
amount more business.
of course.
With,
I do think as well though, with some of this ITK stuff, I get it, right? I mean, look, with some of the ITK stuff, I do think we've got to remember that just because they post something at, I don't know, 10 to 11 on Tuesday morning doesn't mean that something doesn't change between the two clubs to the next morning. And people go, oh, so-and-so's in the mud. And I get it with some of the stuff, but other stuff is, well, hang on, situations change. But listen, it is what it is. And we all love that game. As much as we all hate the ITKs, we bloody love it. What would we talk about? Here's my issue with it, right? Here's my issue with it is it forces these types of windows, force fans to have one of two stances at this stage in the window. The first stance is we all start softening on the level of player we would accept, right? There's the first stance. We all start going, well, I didn't want him, but you know what? We're a bit desperate. Or it forces the other hand, Connor, which is, well, to be honest, I wouldn't do anything now anyway. I'd wait till the next transfer window, right? And it leaves you up a shit creek, right? Either way, because you're either buying players that aren't good enough, and then we go, oh, well, we've not backed the manager, and what do you expect? Or it's, don't worry, we'll wait till the next window, and we've not done enough again. I'm genuinely baffled how the club could put out that video, right, of Vinay and Levy at the beginning of the window. I'm genuinely baffled at how they could do that. Then we've got the overlap nonsense. And then you're sitting here with 6 days to go, and we're getting ready for the mother of all we tried, right? We are, aren't we? We're getting ready for the PR spin of the century of we tried, deals are difficult to do. Like, people are already going, oh, but look at the caliber we're trying to sign. That shows that Levy and Enoch have changed. No, what's showing will change to be if they could get one over the line. Throw the money at it. I'm not normally someone, Connor, sorry for the rant. I'm not normally someone that says just throw the money at it. But go to Man City. What do you want for Savio? If it's 75 million, people can argue about what he's worth. If it's 75 million and he is your number one target, boom. If not, sorry, we can't afford that. Walk away. Here's Lookman. Here's Matoma. Here's yada. Connor, the problem with all of this, 6 days to go. People in the chat saying things like, just go and bid for Morgan Rogers. With 6 days to go, you think we're getting Morgan Rogers from Aston Villa? Mate, I don't know if I'm sad, angry. I don't know if I'm finding it funny. I just feel all sorts of confused, if I'm honest.
Yeah, I agree, mate. And look, I think the problem is as well is this is distracting from the fact that Thomas Frank has made an outstanding start as well, right? And almost that makes it more frustrating in a way because you're seeing, right, they've actually hired a coach here who knows what he's doing. And again, this is another manager that they are, making him do the job with his hands tied behind his back. And so this is what's really frustrating, I think, for us as Spurs fans, is we can see what this manager could do, and we can see the impact that Kudus and Paulinho have had if they actually delivered him a proper window. And I think that's the frustration. And look, I think this is the reason I said I've been doing streams with you all through the summer, right? This is the reason 6 weeks ago, 7 weeks ago, when we were being told to judge the window at the end, we were saying this is the reason why you need to do your business early, because you get to the end of the window and then these clubs don't have time to replace players of quality. And so you can't get them over the line. It's just so obvious to us that that was going to be the way that this played out. And it's exactly what has happened. And so, I think it's just an absolute shambles, and there's no more excuses. There is zero excuses you can make for this ownership now on this window.
It's just, no, you're 100% right, Connor. It's just, I'm a fan that I don't even demand the best players. Like, don't get me wrong. In an ideal world, Connor, I'd love. Listen, I don't want that to sound like I've got no ambition. In an ideal world, I'd love to be able to rock up to the best clubs and take their players. But I also know where we are on the food chain. But
yeah, we need to do it gradually. This is everyone understands that. Yeah.
But there's plenty of Kuduses out there that you can go and get. That's our level. There's plenty of Paulinhas. There's like right now. I don't know, Mark Guay. I know the Palace thing, but the Mark Guay types, good, solid Premier League footballers that would come in, do a job, build out the squad. I'm not saying Mark Guay here. I'm just using him as a benchmark. There are players everywhere, and we seem to be the only club that can't really get it done. If we break it down, if I'm going to be really harsh, I'm going to be really harsh here. You've got Takai was 5 million from Japan because it's a no-brainer. Let's be fair. It's 5 million quid that Tottenham won't miss. If it goes well, you could sell him on for big money and you get the whole Japanese market when he starts playing regularly. That's great. If it doesn't go well, all right, 5 million. 5 million is what we'll use to pay off an agent. Do you know what I mean? So it's 5 million. You've bought in Danso, which I think is a sensible signing. I think that's a really sensible signing. I'll give the club that. You got the whole Bayern Munich, Harry Kane aspect somewhere in there, right? You got Kudus. West Ham were desperate for money, so ended up selling him below his release clause. And then you got Paulinho, who's a £5 million loan. We've gone and done nothing that's difficult to do this window. Not one of these deals is a difficult deal to pull off. Not one of these deals is a deal where you go, God, fair play, Spurs. Fair play. Savio would be a fair play moment.
Yeah.
Where's the Akliouche type players? 23 from France. We can't go and get him, no, for 60 million euros. The whole thing is a shit show. Like a true shit show.
Yeah. And then the other side of that coin is you look at the sales, and the sales have been an absolute joke as well, right? We've sold Son, who's, was the right time for him to go, but you've lost actually someone who did contribute more than some of the other players that we haven't been able to get rid of. But it was the right time for him to go. But he's a very easy sale to happen, right? Because, a number of clubs will take Son just because of his commercial pull above anything else, right? So, that was one of the easiest sales to do, right? Højbjerg they've sold as well, but that was an obligation from the year before. And then Keeley, right? So even on the sales, it's been an absolute shambles as well. And look, it comes back to, and people use Chelsea as an example, right, of how good they are selling. I made this point a couple of times. One of the reasons that Chelsea is so good at selling is because Todd Bowley hasn't burnt bridges all around Europe with other football clubs, right? And so Chelsea are good at dealing. When it comes to buying players, they deal in the right way. They don't treat every negotiation like a war. And when it comes to sales, that means they can make them happen. Why do you think Chelsea managed to get João Pedro so easily from Brighton? Because they've had a number of dealings with Brighton. They've got a really great relationship with them. Right?
So when they're going to the table with Chelsea, they know it's not going to be a long, drawn-out 3-4 week saga. Yeah, no, mate, you're absolutely right. It's the same as anything in life. Do you go back to somewhere where you've had a bad experience? Right, you might go back once because you go, okay, maybe it was an off day, but you're not going to keep going back. If I go to a restaurant down the road, doesn't matter what restaurant, by the way. If I go to a restaurant down the road and I have a bad experience, cool. I might say, well, maybe it was an off day. If I go back again, I'm like, God, this is twice now. It's been shit. I'm not going back again. And I know this is different because this is football transfers, but you're absolutely spot on. Right now, and this goes again, by the way, this is what the transfer window does to me. It makes me go against all my beliefs, Connor, because we're in desperation mode. We're in panic mode. Right now, Spurs should be moving heaven and earth to get 3 or 4 players in the next 6 days. We should be moving we should have moved heaven and earth that week that Son left and Maddison done his ACL. We should have been moving heaven and earth to bring in footballers. And do you know how many days it is since we signed Kudus?
40, something like that, is it?
47 days.
Yeah.
40. So if I'm not wrong, isn't that pretty much half a transfer window?
It's negligence
There
beyond
can't
belief.
be any excuses. There can't be. I know you've got people that want to play devil's advocate, and I know there's people that want to sit on them in the middle. What possible excuse is there going to be? We've got a 22-man squad, Connor.
Yeah.
My mate Ash said to me yesterday, you might have heard me say it. He said he's not even angry anymore. He's worried. Because right now, we'll probably beat Bournemouth and West Ham, right? If we beat Bournemouth and West Ham, you got 4 wins from 4, and the cracks are being papered over because of Thomas Frank's coaching, right? That's great. Now you get 2 or 3 injuries. 2 or 3 injuries. Now we can't even put a substitute bench out without naming 15 and 16-year-olds. I have no idea what's going on, mate. I have no idea. And yeah, I've woken up in one of their moods today. Sometimes I'm jovial. Sometimes I wake up like, fuck you, Spurs. Like fuck you.
Yeah, I mean, the worst thing for me as well, and I don't like to talk about that lot down the road, originally from South London, but you just look at the squad depth they've got now, particularly if they get Hincapié over the line as well. And, I put a tweet up saying the trajectory of the 2 clubs since we moved into the new stadium, right? We had 6 years or so of finishing above them every year. Moved into the new stadium. Then what happened was they hired Arteta. The Cronkies decided to actually take a proper involvement in the club, obviously put Josh Kroenke on the board, put 300 million of their own money into the club. And you look at the way that they've gone about their business over that, and people go, oh, but they haven't won anything. But listen to me, Arsenal will win something, right? I think it's going to happen this year, unfortunately, and people are going to have to get their heads used to it, because I think they're going to win the league this year now with the depth they've got. Maybe they won't, but my opinion is they're going to win the league, and if they don't win the league, they'll win something, right? It's going to happen. But you look at where they are as a club because of the fact that their ambition is to win, right? You look at what they've done this summer. Spent well over 200 million, could end up being close to 300 million, on top of a squad that was already in a much, much better position than we're in. And these are the types of clubs we're competing with. And there's no one can roll out these excuses about, state money from the oil-rich countries, or they're doing what Chelsea are doing. All they're doing is they've got an ownership that has got a bit of ambition, and it's the complete opposite to ours, unfortunately.
Connor, maybe we've been a bit hasty because Spurs official have just posted some really good news.
Is it a dog sponsorship or something? There you go.
I mean, Connor, read the room. Read the fucking room, Tottenham Hotspur. What on earth is this? By the way, simultaneously to that is Porto are finalising a deal for Jakub Kiwior today. Kiwior will fly as early as this evening, loan with obligation, which frees up Leverkusen and Arsenal to get the Piero Hincapié deal done. That's the difference between the 2 football clubs. So when people go to me, let's laugh at Arsenal because we won a Europa League. Really? Really? Am I laughing at Arsenal when we're posting out? Sorry, I'm pointing this way. It's always weird because I'm pointing away from where it actually is. This. Download the Walk 15 app today and get walking with your 4-legged friend. Fuck off.
Mate, it's just outrageous. It is a social experiment, this football club, I'm sure. It is ridiculous. You look at, I was doing a bit of a back of a fag packet of the signings they've made. I reckon, Arsenal's wage bill is going to go up to sort of 350, 375 million for the whole club. Playing squad's a bit less than that, but that compares to we were 222 right last year. We're probably 240 or something like that now, right? over 120 million more than us. It just is outrageous what we're doing. It's just, and the problem is as you say, you know, the Frank is papering over the cracks for them a little bit right now. You know, I think there would be even more noise. And look, I can see loads of comments. People are obviously as pissed off as we are, but there would be even more noise, I think, if we didn't have this manager papering over the cracks.
I'm I'm just every time you think they can't take the piss out of us anymore, they can't, and they do. 6 days of the transfer window when we're announcing International Dog Day. Let's have a look at the last few things Spurs official have posted. So International Dog Day. Before that was a Jed Spence tackle, brilliant. Before that was Papa Sarr's some player. Before that was Paulinho's our man of the match. I mean, the one thing I will say is before that, fair play. Andy Sinton, I hope he gets well soon. Ex-Spurs player, had a heart attack over the weekend. So thoughts with him and his family. I hope he gets better soon. Remember, I had a season to get when Andy Sinton was a left winger for Tottenham Hotspur. So hope he gets better soon. But other than that, they are not reading this room at all. And I'm interested to see how any of these apologists, like that group I left, the WhatsApp group, when people are telling me, the difference between me and you, Sava, is I'm more logical in my thinking. Really? Logical? What's logical about this window? What's logical?
I think the problem is people sometimes, we spoke about it a little bit, right? There's this, people talk about toxic negativity. For me, there's toxic positivity as well, where you feel like because you support the club, you have to defend almost everything that they do. Whereas for me, I support Tottenham Hotspur. I don't support FC, right? And I want Tottenham to be the best possible club they can be, which sometimes is coming across negative. But I think, as we've discussed before, I think it's just about actually having some sort of level of relative ambition for the football club, and wanting, I don't want. I'm not expecting Tottenham to go and win the league, right? Particularly the first year of Frank's. But what I am looking at right now is I'm looking at how good Frank is as a coach. I'm looking at the fact that our squad wasn't the fourth worst last year. Obviously, it's better than that, right? And Kudus and Paulinho are great signings, but I'm just thinking, had we done 2 or 3 other similar level signings to Kudus and Paulinho, there's no reason we couldn't have finished 5th this year, in my opinion. Because I think the top 4 are the top 4, and then after that is Newcastle, Villa, us, United. There's a few teams knocking about. But had we done the business we should have done, I think there's an argument to say we could have finished 5th with this manager. Then you get Champions League money again, and this is where I come back to, like, people talk about what a fantastic businessman he is, but the best way of making money for a football club, way better than what we can do with the stadium, the concerts, and all of that, is by success. Success breeds revenue like nothing else, right? That's the reason why Man City and Liverpool's revenues are so high now, because they've been consistently successful over the last few years, getting in the Champions League every year, etc., etc. The years that we've been in the Champions League have always been our highest revenue years. So sometimes you've got to throw a sprat to catch a mackerel, right? And this ownership is never willing to do it. And surely this was the time again. I mean, we could have had this discussion 5 or 6 years ago as well, right? With under Poch, when they had windows of spending nothing and didn't build on what we had. But surely this was the time. And again, they've absolutely fucked this window completely.
Oh, they killed it. I mean, by the way, in the chat, there's a poll I've put up, and the poll literally says, "How much is Levy taking the piss out of Spurs fans?" And your options are massively, a little bit, quite a lot, or he isn't. I worry about the 8% that have said he isn't. I really worry as to what you think a good transfer window looks like if this is not taking the piss out of Spurs. This is where we get to. Big up my man Jack. Hope you're well, brother. Actually don't care who we sign or if we sign anyone anymore. This is what it does to fans. This is what it does. Big up my man. Because obviously I know Jack, he wouldn't have been saying this a month ago. Right? By the way, Nike have released our new third kit today. So today Spurs have released a third kit and talked about International Dog Day. Any chance we can talk about International Transfer Window Week? I don't know, like any, and the thing is, what will happen? Connor, is Spurs, if they announce a signing tonight, you'll get loads of people going, gutted, you're in the mud, you were moaning. We don't need a signing. We need 3 or 4. We need signings. And I don't care if it's Paz. I don't care if we want to talk about Paz, Savio, Akliouche. I'm not on the Spurs recruitment team. This is their job. They should have a number of players in every position, right?
Yeah.
Here is boom, 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 boom. Now, what I'll say to this, and I will do a few super chats. Do you ever watch like did you watch like the Salford City Class of 92 program?
Yeah.
And you watch the All or Nothing programs, right? If you watch any of these big documentaries about football clubs, I find them fascinating, by the way. You see, whenever they're in those recruitment meetings, they show when the recruitment teams, the analysts, they bring up, they go, right, here's our options. Boom, 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 boom. Spurs, it doesn't even seem like we've done it. I'm not saying we haven't, but it doesn't feel like we've done it, because how can a club the size of Tottenham, we're the 6th biggest club in this country, right? We're one of the biggest clubs in Europe, relatively, with huge revenue. And people are telling me that Spurs can't have a better transfer window than last summer and this. It's
no. And the problem is you've now got to that stage of the window. I think you mentioned it earlier, where people are now running this hypothetical scenario of, would we be better off actually not signing anyone if we can't get? How are we even asking that question? How are we in the world of asking the question? Would we be better off signing no one and waiting until January or next summer? We're not in the. I know Liverpool had that window last year, right, where they didn't sign anyone, or they signed Mamadashvili but sent him out back on loan and got Chiesa for nothing. They spent basically nothing. But Liverpool's squad was in a good position, right? To your point earlier, we're struggling to fill the full squad, let alone like. I'm not talking about what we need to do to close the gap. Even I'm just talking about like the sheer numbers at this point. We can't even fill a full squad. So it's just, and there's player. As I said, I think with the likes of Solomon, Gill, Basuma, I think if you set the price at a right level and Levy wasn't such a prick to deal with, and I'd softened my word then because I didn't want to demonetize you.
That's all right.
You could sell those players. You're telling me someone wouldn't come and buy Basuma for 8 to 10 million. He's worth that, right? You could sell him, and this is the problem, and it is incompetence beyond all belief.
But by the way, when someone's saying being a bit dramatic, mate, but this is about the club being adjoined. This is about somebody in the marketing team or the PR team understanding how the fans are feeling and reading the room. I completely understand that the marketing and community team are not the ones in charge of transfers. Thank you for letting me know how that works. But there's such a thing as optics. There's such a thing as Spurs fans right now don't want to be reading about International Dog Day. I have 2 dogs, and I'm saying that as I've got 2 dogs sleeping underneath my feet right now. I love them. I love dogs more than I like humans, if I'm brutally honest. But I don't want to read about Spurs' partnership with International Dog Day. Have a look. Like Ali Gold. Look at this. Looks like Spurs have soft launched their yellow fur kit today. F off. Listen, and I love Ali Gold. I think he's a great journalist. I don't want to read this. No. Where's my players? There's a transfer window going on. Where's our players? Where are the footballers?
Oh, mate, I've seen a few messages in one of the WhatsApp chats that I'm in, that people going, our away kit's nice. Fur kit, and you just think, what the fuck are we doing here?
Oh, God, yeah.
How are we talking about? These are grown men as well, by the way. Do you know what I mean? We're talking about kits looking nice for a start anyway, which I'm just like, who gives a fuck? We could come out in clown suits, which probably would be apt. For the way the club
it's truly worrying. Look, let me do a couple of super chats and then we'll go back to it. Big up to Tony Rodriguez, my man out in Sweden. I said, Levy is the biggest con man in the history of humankind. I hate him with every fiber of my being. And Tony, the problem is that there's a lot of people that are going to move towards that stance. I don't know about hate, but there are a lot of people that hate how he runs it. I don't hate him. as a person, but I do hate how we operate, which is the difference for me. But I think this might be the straw that breaks the camel's back for a lot of fans this window. Last year, you could almost, I don't agree with it, by the way. I don't believe this, by the way, Connor, before you disagree with me, which you will. You can almost forego last season and go, oh, okay, well, we didn't have Champions League revenue. This year, there is absolutely no excuse for it. There is absolutely no excuse. We've spent less this year than last year. We've spent less this year than last year. And we've made £21 million, if I'm not wrong, in transfer fees. I think we've made 20 million for Son, 1 million for Keeley.
Yeah, it was about 13, 15 or something.
Højbjerg's yeah. Okay. So we've made 30 odd million quid in transfer fees. Chelsea probably made that yesterday alone for Chukwuemeka.
Yeah.
Right. If I'm not wrong, I think Chelsea have sold over £250 million worth of footballer this summer. Still with Nkunku to go, still with maybe Nicholas Jackson to go, Raheem Sterling. It's utterly fraudulent. Big up to you, Tony. Really appreciate that. Big up to Rob Welsh. Said the window has Saha and Nelson vibes. And you know the worst thing, Rob? There will be fans that back that. Spurs could right now go and buy, let me try and think of a Saha Nelson vibe. Spurs could right now go and buy, I don't know, Kilman from West Ham. All right, I'm just trying to think of relatives to Saha. Kilman from West Ham. And let's think of a striker. And Rodrigo Munoz from Fulham. Right? And fans will go, oh, no, I like that. Decent. There will be. There would be some. Oh, yeah, big up to you, Rob. Big up to Martin out there in Spain. How you doing, bro? Hope you're well. Said Frank must want more than Savio. So where are they? I'll tell you what, right now, I reckon he just takes Savio. I mean, I can't see this getting done in any way, shape or form. And all of the big Real Madrid accounts last night saying that Rodrigo has decided to stay at Madrid. I don't know how true that is. I'm just passing on information. If that's true, does Savio go? If it's true and Spurs need to whack down 70, 75 million, does Levy have the chops for it? Because wages won't be a problem.
It's not happening, is it, that deal? That deal's just not happening, is it? Let's be honest. No. I mean, and again, you go, what are we doing for weeks and weeks? How long has that one been going on? You know, either it's happening or it isn't. Or, you know, you've got to go into these negotiations by saying to the other club, look, this is what we're willing to pay, and we need an answer by X, or we're going to move on to our next target. You know, why does it take weeks and weeks and weeks all the time? And there's other options. Savio isn't the only left winger in the world who improves us. There's a number of options. Lookman is being touted by his, we spoke about before, by his agent, left, right, and centre. There'll be other options all around Europe. There'll be, but I think it's because it's convenient. To be honest, I think people dispute that it's a conspiracy or that it's ENIC PR or whatever. But I think it's convenient that keeps fans hanging on, and then they don't actually have to commit to the signing. I think this window's starting to prove that.
Do you know what's worse is, big up Martin, by the way, thank you, much love, dude. What's worse is there are 1,200 people inside here, Connor, and Levy's tightness has dripped into them. We have 215 likes from 1,200 people. Guys, that should be 600 or 700. Smash that like button right now, please. Big up to George. By the way, if you haven't subscribed, please do. George, who's been a member for 2 years now. Big up to you, George. Thank you for everything you do. Always a good moderator as well. It's been a great 2 years as a member. Enjoy your holiday, Sava. Mate, I'm just so sorry that our chairman, unfortunately, treats us like this, George. Hopefully I don't treat my members the way Daniel Levy treats the Spurs fans, which is with utter disdain. It's absolutely farcical. Big up, George. Big up to Benji as well. How you doing, Benji? Said Mr. Levy insists that when it comes to transfers, it's all about sustainability. So does that mean it's unsustainable to keep the team competitive? Mate, listen, if Newcastle can stay competitive and Villa can stay competitive and Forest can stay competitive, and then Spurs can, right? This guy is bleeding us dry from the inside out right now. And there were flashes in this summer where I thought, have we learned? Nope. Gibbs White, get it done. I praise him. Nope. Eze, get it done. I'll praise him. Nope. No, he can't get any big deal done. He cannot. No. Now, those players would have had some interest in us for us to be at the table talking. But Dilly and Dally, not our two new signings. If you Dilly and Dally, other clubs will come in and go, yeah, Spurs are fucked about enough here. We'll get this sorted. Big up to you, Benji. Really appreciate that, my man. And Alex Smith's coming as well. Said, you're right. I'm not a Spurs fan. I'm an Arsenal fan. And on Thursday is the Champions League draw. I don't see you getting beyond the 25, innit? Look, I think the thing is, Alex, first of all, it all depends on the draw. I think there's going to be enough teams that we should beat that we can. But the difficulty will be when Spurs start playing 2 games a week and he's got to rotate in kids like Bergvall, Odegaard, Tell, Gray. We're going to find out how ready are they. Because at the moment, they're your first 4 subs at Tottenham Hotspur. Davis, Solanke. I mean, it's not good. Big up, Alex. Really appreciate that. That's the problem, isn't it, Connor? That we looked at our first 3 subs against City, and it's 2 kids in Odegaard and Bergvall and Solanke who hasn't really set the world alight. That's what's coming off our bench as our first 3 options.
Yeah, and it's as you just said, it's only going to take a couple of injuries to, some key players. I think the likes of Kudus right now we signed him this summer and he's becoming indispensable for me in terms of if he gets injured, you suddenly lose the only outlet person that the ball sticks to out of the forwards, and player that can relieve pressure in that way. So that's a massive, massive issue. I think similarly, if Van der Ven gets injured right now, you're going to have to shoehorn Dan So in as a left centre back when he's actually a right centre back. You don't have another one. If both of the fullbacks are out at the same time, you've only got Spence right now that can cover, and who can play both, and so which could quite easily happen. Udogie's quite injury prone, so it only takes now a Porro injury or a Spence injury, and you're suddenly in a situation. So and there's examples of this all across the team, right? Not to mention, we just don't actually have a starting number 10 or a starting left winger that's of the required quality. So, look, it's a huge, huge issue for us, I think, and I think it's going to catch up with us when we start getting into the Champions League, run.
Yeah, I think the difficulty with that, Connor, is all the while we're playing 1 game a week, I think we're going to be okay as long as the injuries stay. But have we not learnt our lesson from last year in a lesser valued competition, in a lesser quality competition? We saw that you're going to struggle to play 2 games a week if you don't have the squad. Surely you would have thought, okay, Champions League, let's learn from that. Let's get in 5 or 6 first team players. I'm not saying they all have to go straight into the 11, but let's buy 5 or 6 senior pros. And we haven't. And I just sit there and I go, you've got to stop making videos, mate, about winning titles and Champions Leagues. Not that I believe he said it for now, but no. You've got to stop pretending that's what your aim is. And, I hurt when the fans hurt. Do you? Do you really? Because your marketing team at the moment are posting about International Dog Day, mate, while we're all sitting here hurting, watching our rivals. Listen, we're not Arsenal. And I get told off for talking about Arsenal. I am sitting here. You are sitting here. They are sitting here, all the viewers. As Spurs fans, we are watching Arsenal sign after sign after sign after sign after signing. Right? Players that walk into our 11. Players that walk into our 11, just signing and signing and signing and signing. And we're sitting here going, any truth to Paz? Any truth to Akalush? Any truth to Savio? People like last night we were talking about. Asensio. What a no-brainer.
On loan,
what a no-brainer. Get him on loan. He's got 1 year left on his
Sign him
contract.
plus another 10, right? Thicken the squad. It's an absolute no-brainer. I mean, and look, yeah, I mean with Arsenal, it's look, I'm so jealous of their ownership. I'm so jealous of it, and it's not just the money they've pumped in because that's part of it, but they've had a clear, aligned strategy, haven't they? Since they hired Arteta, they've window after window. It's only last summer maybe you could have said they should have signed an attacking player that wasn't
Yeah.
Raheem Sterling on loan. I think they missed an opportunity, and I think they've learned this window. Um, but I'm hugely jealous of the way that they run their football club and the fact that their ambition in terms of winning stuff. I mean, look, I just saw a comment saying Connor's so miserable again, and it's like, for a start, I'm not. I'm very, very happy with Frank as a manager. I'm absolutely over the moon with the way that the Man City game went. What I'm disappointed. How can anyone be happy with this? How can anyone be anything but miserable if you support this football club? I don't get it.
It's slowly, big up Manny, by the way, I'll bring you in a second. It's almost taking away any of that, yeah, we won a Europa League. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't sit here and feel like when people are like, oh my God, it's so important, we must win a trophy. What's it done? Really, other than for the fans to go, yeah, and a bit of bragging rights, what has it done for Tottenham? Nothing. What's it done for us? Like nothing.
Other than, yeah, as you say, give us an amazing day, and it hasn't been you. I mean, he had the cheek to come out and say it's a springboard for future success, and you just think, oh, I mean, the shit this bloke comes out with as well, and fans lap it up. I mean, it is outrageous, and I know we asked for more communication from the club, which is obviously right, but that communication has to be honest, doesn't it? As well, it's just, as you say, these interviews where we talk about the ambition is to win the Premier League and Champions League. Come on, do me a favour. It's just outrageous.
Just quickly before I go to Manny, Danny, if you actually listen to what I said to Connor, I said, of course we do have a list, but we act like we don't. If you actually listen to what I said we will have a list, but we act like we don't, right? 2 of these are really important before you try and mock someone. Honestly, really important. And Guy, I'm sorry, I'm not having this. I'm not having this that Spurs can't attract footballers. I am not having this in any way, shape or form. There is a level, yes, of what we can attract. And if Eze is not it, Eze is not the only player across Europe, right? If Newcastle can attract Bruno Guimaraes, if Newcastle can attract Tonali and Isak, why can't we? This is where the excuses start to come for the ownership. Manny, good morning, mate. This is where Spurs fans start making us sound out like we're a tiny little club to almost cope with this window, Manny. I'm so
100%. But even from a perspective of Morgan Gibbs-White and Eze, if you really think about it, Morgan Gibbs-White agreed to come to us. Everything, he was on his way to come to us, but then obviously the whole situation happened with Marinakis and whatnot. Eze agreed. If you read everything that David Ornstein and The Athletic have said, he had an agreement in place with us for a while. So these are not players that are turning down Spurs. These are players that, and again, people would say, right, well, he didn't want Spurs. So, and I understand that, right? But players have preferences. That's nothing new. It happens across the board. It happens. It's happened in the past. It happens in the future. They are professionals. There is no way Eze would have come to Spurs and not performed. So the fact that he had agreed to come to us and then had to wait for us to reach an agreement with Palace just disbands this whole notion of, Spurs and the club, we're not, no. We're not saying go in and get Messi. We're not saying go in and get, Mbappe. These are all players that would have literally improved our first 11. But sorry, Savage, I know you just got me in, right? But let me just say straight away as well. My main frustration with regards to the situation that we're in also comes from the fact that Frank has had such a great start to his tenure. And you know me, I've been on here very, very loudly and said, I've always backed Ange. I wanted him to have the chance to sort the issues that he had. But the main thing I said as soon as he got sacked was, Frank has a big job on his hands because he has to get the fans on board and he has to get the players on board and believing in his methods. The guy has come in, and in 3 games, you can clearly see how well the team is playing for him. So as a chairman, you sit there and watch this. And I know it's not just him, right? But as a chairman, as a board, as a recruitment team, you sit down and watch what this guy has shown you he is capable of doing. How does it not click in your head and say, you know what? Let's get this guy what he needs ASAP, because we might have something on our hands here. Like, that is the frustration. It's not about, even the Eze deal, falling through. But what is next? Who have you guys been speaking to while speaking to the Eze in relation to the Eze situation? It's crazy. Yeah. And again, I will point back up again that no one can say I'm biased because I loved Ange with regards to things, right? With regards to this, Frank is the main reason why people haven't thrown everything, all their toys out the pram, because he's come in and he's had 2 wins out of 2. So everything is cushy. Had he not been able to do that because of personnel, this would have been a disaster. Like, why are we the only club that always needs to wait to the last minute in the transfer window to bring anyone to the club? Like, this is not they are stuck in 2002. They're stuck in the 90s.
That's what you WhatsApped me this morning, wasn't it? Our chairman's stuck in 02.
where they think, oh, you know what? I am going to wait to the last minute so I can get a great deal. Well, guess what? Things have changed. Clubs have got way more money than they used to have. So now they can sit back and say, you know what? Actually, I'm not going to sell you your target because, you know what? I can't replace him. They can do that because they have the money. You know what I'm trying to say? So I'm there, like, at the moment, Palace and Gueye, a clear example. They don't want to lose him, at the end of the window, but they are there and they're like, well, we want a deal that works for us. Look at Newcastle and Liverpool with Isak. In the past, 120, 130 million being bid for a player for a team like Newcastle they would chomp at the bits and bite your hand off. We are in 2025. They are there saying, no, we won't, unless we are able to replace him. And the more time goes, the more like, well, we might not even sell him because we can't get a replacement. Whoever it is that is making these decisions at the club, whether it's Levy, whether it's the board, he mentioned about needing board approval, whether it's the recruitment team, somebody here is not doing their jobs, because this is negligence. And I know people are saying, yeah, but he's making money for any other institution. You are literally you're damaging the brand now. I know people say, oh, you know what, at the club we are laughing stock to the, us fans, we're suffering. Yeah, I know. However, our brand is also suffering by the fact that everyone is labeling us to be a banter club, right? It's not good for the brand. Like, he's a businessman, get with the program and wake up. Goodness me.
The thing is that I echo everything you just said, and I can hear the frustration in your voice as well, but you're spot on. I think the thing is had we not won the Europa, and United have started to see this, you would have actually started to have some of the commercial sponsors change as well. And this is the problem, this is the situation we may end up starting to find ourselves in eventually, is that, if we don't have that ambition, you will start to see, and this is my whole point before about how can't he get his head around this concept that actually, if you speculate a little bit, you'll accumulate more. It's mind blowing. But look, I think the thing is, what you're saying about him operating in 2002 still, it's absolutely spot on. It's absolutely spot on. I think we've got this we've got this awful paradox where we've got an ownership under ENIC that are not willing to invest, so they won't put in any money. So we're already behind other football clubs relatively because their owners are willing to put in money to get them to compete. We've then got, though, on top of that, a chairman who operates in such a way that he thinks that he can still get deals done like he did 15, 20 years ago, to your point, when clubs didn't have as much money. Funnily, this morning I was looking at the agent fees that are paid right now, because obviously the game is run by agents, right? In the year February 24 to February 25, do you know we paid less agent fees than Leeds United, who were in the Championship at the time? So this again might be one of the reasons we're struggling to get, because agents run the game now, right? So these are the sort of things.
Is that like the stat this morning that Wrexham have a higher net spend than Tottenham in this transfer window?
That's what I mean.
By the way, for anyone who cares, West Ham are even signing footballers today. West Ham have just signed Magassa, he can play centre-back or DM. The Monaco 21-year-old has just signed for West Ham for 20 million. Even West Ham, who are an utter shit show, even West Ham, no Europe, utter shit show. Don't worry, even they can sign players. And Nottingham Forest are in club-to-club talks with Leicester City for Christensen, the left-back. Nottingham Forest for what might be their 10th or 11th permanent signing of the transfer window. It's utterly embarrassing. By the way, Phil Coys, dude, I love you to bits, but this copium has got to stop. It's not about our squad being bad. We're a Champions League team, mate. We just said the first 3 subs that Tottenham can make right now are Bergvall, Odegaard and Solanke. Now, no offence, because Bergvall and Odegaard are young and Solanke's okay. I don't see Man City, Chelsea, Liverpool and Arsenal bringing on those 3 players for their football club in the Champions League. You've got to get a grip, Phil. You've got to get a grip, mate. This is copium of the highest order. Fans like you, I'll call it out. Nothing that I didn't say to your face when you're at my house for the barbecue. Fans like you do this every summer. It's not that bad. It's okay. 1 or 2. And then as the window goes, as the season progresses, you start to realise, we didn't buy what we needed. Yeah.
Yeah,
that
but
were
also
3 subs.
Yeah. But also, the point is not about that. The point is about every team in our modern era gets injuries. Look at Arsenal just, last weekend. Saka goes down. What's his name? Odegaard goes down injured. They have Madueke coming in, whether you rate Madueke or not. Eze coming in. Waneri coming in. It's about the fact that when you look at, and I was watching the Monday night show last night by the analysis of our game by what's his name, Jamie Carragher and Thierry Henry, right? And you can clearly see the way we are playing. Our outlet is fully Kudus. It's Kudus or Inshallah. It's Kudus or bust, right? And you can see the way Kudus takes the ball. The quality is immense. So he doesn't lose the ball, which allows us to find pockets of space all across. Now, think about it, because we need, as you said, this is not the Europa League. We're not going to go play, someone we don't know with lower quality, etc. We might do for a game or 2. But we will need Kudus in the Champions League and in the Premier League as well. Now, touch wood, if something happens to Kudus, we are back so many steps. It's unbelievable. And we can't just rely on a managerial tactical acumen. That's it. We have to give that a quality. Like, I don't understand why this is even a debate. Why are we the only big club that does not provide their team coach with an abundance of quality? Why? Why does it always have to be scrimp and scrape? Like, I can't. Sorry, I literally been winding myself up as I was watching.
You know what's even funnier though? I still find it funny that there's still so many people in the chat that will defend. Again, like I'm seeing, why do people hate Levy? business isn't easy. I'm sorry. How are these other clubs doing it?
Yeah.
How are these other clubs going and getting targets? How are we the only one that aren't doing it?
The thing is, Saf, should we really be surprised though? This is the same bloke that told us that the new stadium build would have no impact on transfers. And then for the 5 years before we moved into the stadium, we had 3 transfer windows when we didn't sign anyone, when we were getting into the Champions League every year, and spent £13 million net a year, right? It's just, I think that he's doing what he did to Poch again, what he did to almost every manager.
Yeah.
And then what will happen is we'll get some injuries. We'll have all of that run up of games, build up of games. Frank will start losing some games because no one can deal with that situation. Then people will turn on the manager. And we live in this constant, just vicious cycle of, you know, talking about managers having energy for that when the only energy that anyone in the fan base should have is against this ownership. That's until that changes, we will never compete at the top level. We might have another period like we had with Poch, which is an exception to the rule, where Poch was an outstanding coach and almost did what he did in spite of the ownership. And Frank might be that guy. Hopefully he is. But until the ownership changes, we will never compete consistently and sustainably at the top level.
And by the way, I'm late to the party, right? Because I moved to England in 2012, right? And I was born in Italy, used to support Inter Milan, came here, and the first stadium I went to was the Tottenham Stadium, the old one. And I fell in love, right? So clearly, you guys have been suffering this for ages, and I'm just late to the party. Because when you say we shouldn't be surprised, I am surprised. Because when I listen, and I said that to Sava, I said that to Lubo. When I listened to Levy and Vinay, and he said I want to win the Champions League, and he was like, it's a springboard. I genuinely was thinking, that is the chairman I want to see. That is what I'm talking about. This is what we're going to do. And then very quickly, everyone was like, listen, mate, I think you're late to this party, but this is not going to happen. And I'm just dumbfounded. I'm flabbergasted that we could be dealing this way.
Yeah, look, I just want to say, by the way, yes, everybody, I have been sent the tweet from Himothy, our mate Himothy Connor, who sits down with board members, right? He sits down with board members. Yes, he has just said in the last 10 minutes that Spurs are looking at Lookman and Fofana as options to Savio. For me, that's not an ITK. For me, that should be bloody obvious that those two might be names to go to. I want to talk about him for a quick second, guys. By the way, I do want everybody to smash the like button. It's been absolutely dreadful. We've got nearly 1,300 people in here and 386 likes. Guys, did I do something to offend you all? Clearly, you're all here to watch and you can't just smash a like button. What makes me laugh?
Because they don't like it, Sav. They don't like it because there's nothing to like at the moment, is there?
Well, we get 1,000 votes on the poll, but people can't press a like button, which really does help me and the channel. And if you haven't subscribed, please do, as we're working towards 25k now. So please do smash the subscribe button. Guys, I've said this for ages. This guy is a no-brainer. Lookman is an absolute no-brainer. He is from London, right? He knows the Premier League. He's had 3 very good years in Atalanta. Loads of goals, loads of assists. We've seen the bloke get a hat-trick in a Europa League final. I mean, talk about stepping up at the biggest moments. He got a hat-trick against a Bayer Leverkusen team who hadn't lost a game all year. He rocks up, bish, bash, bosh, hat-trick. He's 40 million euros if that's to be believed. He can play in multiple positions. Why are deals like that not bread and butter for Tottenham Hotspur?
I completely agree. I mean, look, I've been a big fan of Lookman for the last few years. I think he, as you say, particularly with Son going and losing those goal contributions that Son had, Lookman's almost a complete no-brainer, right? He's getting over 20 goal contributions every season. Atlanta in the league. I think the price point, the wages wouldn't be an issue. Atlanta didn't want to sell to Inter Milan anyway, even before Inter Milan dropped out. So there was a opportunity there. Atlanta are almost the Brighton of Italy anyway, and that's their sort of model to sell players on. So they'd be very happy to do that. There's so many things, that I would argue what the club should have done if Savinho was their first target is we shouldn't have signed Tell, and we should have signed Lookman and Savinho anyway, right? So,
but again, the same fan, Phil Coys in the chat, Phil Coys, I'll call him out. The same fan that's saying he doesn't mind this squad was the one championing signing Tell. For the same money as Tell, you get Lookman. That's the levels of our fan base knowledge of football. Do you want Tell or Lookman? I'll have Tell. Sorry, I'm fuming. Sorry, Manny.
And we know Savinho is not going to happen, right? So the conversation should have been a week or 10 days ago. Right, this is our deadline. If you don't get us, and you're already having the conversation with Lookman's intermediaries and agents and making that deal so that you can pull the trigger on it straight away as soon as the Savinho one is dead in the water if he was your number one target. But that's not the way we operate, is it?
Can I also say, right? So I've seen some people say it will be late, but in my opinion, on the Lookman thing, he is very, very good. I really liked him. I liked him when he was even at Everton and he wasn't really producing, right? Atalanta, it's not like Atalanta don't want to sell to Inter Milan. They've set the price. They know that price is reasonable, and Inter Milan don't want to meet that price of 40 million, right? Atalanta have already bought his replacement. They went to Southampton and bought the Ghanaian brother, what's his name? Sulemana, right? And they've been playing him on that left-hand side. So they are ready for him to go. They just don't want to sell they don't want to sell at anything lower than what they've set to Inter Milan. And Inter Milan, we obviously know what's happening in Italy and the lack of money going around. This should be a no-brainer. They should be going in, and within a day, they should be getting that sorted. And still, they should be trying to get Savinho through the door as well. Still, because in the end, again, when Frank wants to rotate, as soon as anything happens, it goes down to Odegaard, it goes down to Tell. So again, going back to the same thing, our squad is not a big squad. And I don't want to hear it about big squads because Chelsea have had the biggest squad ever and everyone seems to be happy there. So why is it that there is no harmony on our side in terms of a big squad? I just don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. We should be stacked from... Imagine if we didn't win the Europa League, by the way. What transfer window would we have had then?
Well, I know, but the thing is, to some extent, I mean, I did it the other week, right? I looked through our windows when we've qualified for the Champions League, and every single one has been a joke.
Yeah.
It's been an absolute embarrassment. So it makes you wonder, actually, when we get in the Champions League, whether because that is the cap of our ambition, it's almost like he's like, oh, that's fine,
we can
be all right. We're in it now.
Somebody's just messaged me and said, oh, God, I can't believe it. Someone's just messaged me and said, is it time for this yet? Is it time to dip into the free transfer market? Are we at panic stations that we have to start looking at Josh Brownhills and Kurt Zoom?
My God. Bring back Sergio Reguilon, please.
Mate, a deadline day move for Danny Ings, Manny. Do you know what I mean? Do you know what? As much banter as there is, this is just, listen, let's sign this bloke, Lincoln. Let's sign him. Let's sign Lincoln. Who else we got? Karsdorp. I mean, back at Alcacer. 31 now. I mean, look at the...
Sav, you joke about this, but I've actually had Spurs fans seriously tweet about us re-signing Eriksen, for example, who's on that list. That has been a serious, suggestion from some of our fans, which I think sort of shows you back to your earlier point of the copium that will apply when it gets to this late in the window and what people will accept just because it's something.
But guys, isn't it damning? Don't you guys think that it's damning that we as a fan base at the moment, right, are losing our heads, not because it doesn't look like we're trying to sign someone, But clearly, the fact that we are trying to sign people, but either there is a major incompetence or our ways of doing things is an incompetence in itself. That is even more damning. That's more damning than even not doing anything. At least if you decide not to do anything, you're like, okay, well, this is what it is. These guys are not looking to improve the team, and then everyone is understanding of where we're at as a club. But the fact that they're trying to go out.
Yeah, it makes you wonder whether they really are. I mean, like Morgan Rogers as an example, right? If you believe that we are linked with him, in what world do you think? In
I
what
like
world do you think
fans like
we'd be
this.
able to get
I
Morgan
like
Rogers
fans
now?
like this. I do.
Yeah, I know.
These are the sort of this is the sort of person that when someone's getting mouth to mouth resuscitation because they're dying, this is the sort of person who goes, no, don't worry, they've already got loads of breath left in them. No, they're all right. They're fine. What are you talking about? There's 6 days. There's 6 days and about 8 hours to go, mate. What are you talking about? Spurs need 3 or 4 footballers. Don't listen to people like Phil Coys telling you two in our squad is enough. We are 3 or 4 injuries away from not being able to put a bench out. I don't know how any adult can't work out the math. I genuinely don't know, guys, how these adults can't work out the math. This isn't knocking the club for knocking the club's sake. We are a Champions League football club in 4 competitions. You cannot have a squad of 22, bearing in mind 3 of those are goalkeepers. Only one of them's going to play. You cannot have 22 players, 3 of which are goalkeepers, right? You can't. This is utter ignorance is bliss for me.
But again, how about we act like a proper club and get signings in for preseason, right? How about that? How about we don't have to rely just purely on a manager just pulling out 2 worldlies, right, to get us 6 points? How about you help him out? How about you don't wait for a crisis?
Yeah,
like this is not rocket science. I'm literally looking at it and thinking, if I'm a chairman and clearly we've got money to spend, and I'm looking at the situation at Newcastle, I'm looking at the PSR situation at Aston Villa, and I'm looking, these are direct rivals, right? Let's right this ship. We've signed a manager, we've brought in a manager who's shown to be capable. Let's right the ship, put ourselves ahead of the competition instead of waiting till the last minute, and then propel us forward. It's literally, it's just to me.
You mean having a plan in place?
That's the point. To me,
having a plan for when it goes wrong, rather than letting it go wrong and then panicking.
I think that's where I'm shocked. I think because I think it's common sense. I genuinely think it's common sense, and I'm struggling to understand why common sense is not common in at this point in time. And yeah, I'm obviously, yeah, we've got a few days left, but come on, Spurs, come on.
By the way, this is to the people that are saying we're being negative, etc. This is with us all accepting that right now we can't compete with the top 4. By the way,
Yeah,
right,
yeah,
and being very reasonable about that. And there's part of you that could say, well, actually, 6 years ago we were finishing above Arsenal every year. I was at Wembley when we beat Liverpool 4-1 when Klopp took over and Kane run Lovren, run him all over the pitch, and he had to get taken off, right? So we've already accepted that decline, right? And we now know we're in a position whereby we're going to have to get back to that level over a certain number of years. So I think actually people are being pretty reasonable, because given where we sit financially, we absolutely should be competing actually with those clubs and trying our best to close the gap on those clubs. No one's asking for that right now. All we're asking for right now is, can we get back above Newcastle and Villa? By the way, Villa, who were in the Championship playoff final the year we were in the Champions League final, and Newcastle, who were 17th when their owners took over. So this is where we are now. This is where we're trying to just ask the club to get back to, and they're not even showing that relative ambition to get there, let alone kick on actually compete on all four fronts like they're telling
I
us
just
they
don't
want to.
see how it could constantly be called negative when we're seeing the same pattern every window.
Yeah.
Yeah. You forget it's every window, isn't it?
You know what I mean? This isn't like, okay. Sorry, chocolate keeps my energy up in the morning. Most people would have a normal breakfast. I'm eating chocolate. There are clubs that are brilliant in the market, and every now and then they have a shit window. Man City last year. And their fans moan, and you have to remind them, hang on, you're normally bloody brilliant in the market. This is Spurs every window. So yes, we are all stupid because we all expect different. But we are all justified in that stupidity because they charge 130 quid for a Spurs shirt. They charge 80, 90 quid for a ticket on a match day. They charge 2K plus whatever for a season ticket. They want to post out about International Dog Day and buy this bag. We're sponsored by Hugo Boss. Look at this new partner. They're literally going, look at the money we've made today. Look at this partnership, this sponsorship. Boom, 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 boom. Cool. Where's the players? Then you've got fans backing it. You have got fans. How is every fan right now not in panic mode? I know we're all different personality-wise, but surely even the coolest and calmest of customers must now see the window shuts on Monday. It's Tuesday. The window shuts in 6 days, 8 hours. No, 6 days, 7 hours and 6 minutes to be precise.
And Sav, just to add to your point about the expectation, this is the owner, as we say, and he comes out and says he wants to win the Premier League and Champions League. This is the owner who says that he's sacking Ange and bringing Frank in because he wants to challenge on all four fronts. This is the ownership that tried to take us into the European Super League with these other big boys that we can't apparently compete with. So you can't have it both ways, right? You can't have all of this money coming in and saying these types of things and wanting to be part of the Big Six, and then having fans accept, oh, but we're not, we're nowhere near as big as those, so it's fine. You can't have it both ways, can you? This is the problem. When you've been a club for 25 years, your words come back to haunt you as well, right? And the things that it comes, we can quote things from this ownership that just are at complete odds with then the way that they operate, which just tells you it's a lie. It's a lie and it's a farce.
But also, I have to say, right, for some fans, me myself included, right. You just sometimes you're even willing, Le'Veon, right, to get these things done, so that you can say, oh, you know what, we've given this guy a chance. Like you have done the right thing. Like when I'm looking at this window and I'm looking backwards, I'm thinking, yes, the Paulinho deal was opportunistic because it's a loan. We're not paying buying anything because the loan amount is probably going to get offset slightly by what they owe us from Kane, right? Then you look at the fact that West Ham needed money, so we again went in opportunistic, got the second best player in the team, and I'm looking at it and thinking, right, so you do understand what is required. What's required is top level, well, very good level, Premier League proven. And you understand that, this is where sometimes I feel a bit conflicted, because I'm looking at it thinking, so what has Johan Lann been doing all the time last year for the 10 months that we've been playing football, right? Because to me, you should have had plan A, B, C, D, right? Whereby as soon as one doesn't work, you trigger the other. As soon as the other doesn't work, you trigger the other. And all these plans having been backed by the manager. I don't want to be hearing Thomas Frank in an interview saying, oh, you know what, they need to get used to what, how I am. No, I don't want to hear it, because if I'm hearing that, then it means that you are now researching the market and you are now going to Thomas Frank and saying, hi, Thomas, this is what we got for you. And Thomas Frank is saying, oh, absolutely not. No way on earth we're bringing in this person. So I'm there thinking there is something majorly wrong. And again, that's why I'm including everybody, because it could, one man can't do everything. It could be that Lange was seriously unprepared, because even with the Eze situation, people could say that we were never in for Eze because Arsenal were lurking at the start of the window. And then we tested the water because Arsenal were not lurking during that part of the window. And then all of a sudden we took too long and then Arsenal came in. So was Eze part of the deal from the first place? And if he was part of the deal from the first place, as soon as we realized that Morgan Gibbs-White was not happening, why did we not trigger the release clause straight away?
Exactly.
So, I'm looking
where
at
it all
this.
falls down.
Unprepared incompetence. That is what things are smelling like.
Do you know the bid for Morgan Gibbs-White, Manny, was 47 days ago? Right. By the way, Crystal Palace and Yeremy Pino is on, by the way. If anyone hasn't watched Yeremy Pino play in Spain, good player. These clubs are just very
good. Is he the Villarreal one?
Yeah. They're just so good at scouting. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying, I mean, he's more of a right-sided player, but how do these clubs scout these people and we can't? If they replace Eze before we replace Maddison, that is utter embarrassment. Crystal Palace, no offense.
Yeah, they will, though, won't they?
Of course they will. Of course they will. I mean, you've got Forrester in talks with Christensen. West Ham have just signed a player. Palace are in talks with Yeremy Pino. Brentford, by the way, are in talks for Max Bayer of Borussia Dortmund. Apparently, it's a domino effect. Once they get Chukwuemeka over the line, Max Bayer is going to go to Brentford, and then Visser will leave to go to Newcastle. Probably. Like, what is? I don't know what to say, guys. I just feel like I know we're shit in the market, but 6 days to go. Come on, like we're acting like we are a newly promoted club that have got no pull at all and no money.
Well, I must say as well,
mate.
by the way, sorry,
I've got to run, guys. Sorry, so I'll see you later.
See you later. Cheers, Connor. Thanks, mate.
But I have to say something as well, right? Well, there's one thing, even at my workplace, that the FIANers always say, right? They always say that when it comes to selling properties, etc., right? They always say that the deal is done with the person rather than the actual property. And sometimes I start to think, are these different chairmen within the Premier League also behave in a certain way when Levy comes calling because of the way Levy's dealt with them in the past, or because of how he is as a person? I don't know, but it does make you wonder, because when you read The Athletic and the situation with the Eze situation, they did mention the relationship that Steve Parish has with one of the guys in the boardroom at Arsenal. So sometimes I do wonder whether the way we behave as well as a club from the top is also what puts certain people off. I wonder.
It's got to be. Look, I'll bring it down. It's got to be money, because there is no way. Listen, for whatever we want to say about Daniel Levy, the man is not stupid, right? There is no way that he can't look at this and say, we are falling further and further and further behind. There's no way you can't look at what the big clubs are doing. There's no way you can think just because we beat Man City that we're going to finish above clubs like Man City at the end of the season. There's no way he doesn't get this money, right? At this stage, this is just pure incompetence. This is either he has burnt so many bridges that he literally can't get deals done because no one wants to deal with him, or we are going in, like, for example, the news coming out this morning is that personal terms have been agreed with Hincapi, right? And that the deal is going to be, I don't know if this is true, by the way, Manny, don't shoot the messenger. I'm not an ITK, right? That the deal is going to be a loan with an obligation to buy at 55 million, right? And what they've said is that it's the same deal that Spurs offer. I don't know. Apparently it's the same deal that Spurs offered, but with more favourable conditions. And that's what we heard about the Eze thing. More favour. It's just fucking awful. I'm so... Oh.
Again, it goes back to my same point again, which I know a lot of people keep disputing with me with regards to the Eze situation. Is the same point that I keep making over and over and over again. Arsenal, if you read the Athletic and you're to believe what they're saying, Arsenal are going for him because they're selling Kirill and they're selling Zinchenko. Kirill is only being spoken about being sold right now. They're in talks with Porto right now, not at the start of the window. So if you thought that really and truly Hincapié was really what you wanted as a left centre back, why do you have to wait till now to engage in talks with them? He has a release clause. This could have been, again, obviously I don't know the ins and outs of these deals, but surely it can't be that you just need to work one deal at a time. Like for a club our size and the amount of money that we spend on these deals, surely we have intermediaries all across, lawyers, all set to get involved in this, and you're able to do multiple deals at the same time. Why do we have to do one at a time? I don't understand this. And it all goes back to the same thing over and over again. We dilly-dally, we wait too long, and by the time we're ready, well, this window at the very least, when we're ready, we are being gazumped left, right, center, because whether people like it or not, when certain clubs come calling, we are not at that level. And it's not our fault we're not at that level. Again, it's the board's fault that we're not at that level, because when we got to a point with Poch that we should have pushed the boat out, we didn't. So it's your fault we're not at that level, and then we're getting gazumped because, again, it's your fault you're not doing things quicker. I'm sorry, but anyway.
Do you know what, Manny? Just before I bring in Maz and Dan, the price, if anyone hasn't seen it, the deal is on between Palace and Pinot, and 50 million euros. Even Crystal Palace, a club like Crystal Palace, are going to pay 50 million euros. Like, this is truly, truly embarrassing at this stage. Everyone, I know you've got to go, Manny, by the way, so thank you very much. But
thank you so much.
Thanks for jumping on, bro. Appreciate you. Dan, Maz, evening. It might as well be. Sod it. Let's kill this transfer window even quicker than it needs to be. You're on mute, Dan. Isn't it embarrassing, lads, when we're at the stage where Crystal Palace are going to go and buy people from Villarreal for 50 million?
It's shockingly bad. I think
what I've been listening to you obviously this morning, Saba, whilst I've been plugging away at work, and what kept popping into my head was the rants that I was doing in Angie's first transfer window, January transfer window in November on Tottenham away. And I was saying, surely, like, the board and lads would have identified exactly what players they're after to support this manager, because he had a great start, and we should back him, etc., to propel us. And what do? We go and get Timo Werner the first time. And then the summer came, and we were waiting for more signings. And we had an underwhelming summer, in my point of view. And we were all saying, how is this squad going to cope with all these games coming up, especially the Europa League? Right, and we bought Dragusin, didn't we? Was that in the summer or was that in the January? I don't recall now.
Dragusin was January, Dragusin.
Yeah. Now, that following November, I also complained, and I said, I don't want to hear any excuses about Tottenham and their transfer policy. They have to go out. They have to buy the players we need. So fine, tick box, we've got Dragusin in, right? But what else did we do that January? We went and got Matisse Tell. Now, I wasn't fussed. I didn't know much about him. For what I saw of him at Bayern, I wasn't that impressed. Obviously it's a different league as well. And at the end of the day, you can only judge a player by what he does on the pitch when he plays for you. And we saw after several games with him, he was utter dog shit, basically. Now, Lange has had effectively 2 years to build up a list of targets that the club should be going for to prepare us for this moment now, whether Ange stayed or not, right? I think the manager, in a way, is irrelevant. Lange, as the footballing director, should have a plan saying, these are the top players that we're going to go for. And when the manager comes in, we'll run him past him, right? He'll tell us the list that he wants and what players he wants. Maybe that list will change, but this is what we're going to go after. Yet, look at where we are. We've got Paulinho, as Connor and I forget the other gentleman's name, Manny said, it was an opportunistic signing.
Yeah.
Like, Kudos maybe was always
kicking the can down the road, Maz. I love Paulinho. Yeah. I wanted him, but by not signing him, you've kicked the can down the road, right?
Yeah, exactly. And Kudos, maybe he's been a long-term target for us, but that's a good signing, great signing. But we're in the same position that we're in, year out, without fail. And this is why I'm so pessimistic, because there's never a time when something happens in a window where you're like, wow, that was brilliant.
Yeah.
The only time we've ever seen
Spurs. You shocked me. Wow.
Yeah. The only time that we had a bit of okay, that's interesting, is when Conte got Bentancur and Kulusevski from Juventus, and you were like, oh, okay, there may be something here. They seem decent players, and they did. They helped us qualify for the Champions League for that first season. But that's it. And Sava, I don't see anything has changed at Spurs, and for me, the most revealing fact that I've heard, and big up to Connor, because I think when he said that to me, I was like, that's one of the reasons why, is that stat about the agents and the fees we pay. I think that's a massive, massive pointer to why maybe we're not getting in front of the players or negotiating with them like we should be doing and getting them through the line. Maybe that is the reason. Because, let's put it this way. We can't discount anything, because so far the window's been very underwhelming for what we need. Maybe if Son stayed, you'll be happy with just maybe one more signing. Because Son's gone, you need two at the minimum. And we're not going to get it. And I'm not confident in six. Yeah,
we haven't actually even strengthened the squad. If we actually look at it, we've replaced one winger. Yeah. And if Basuma goes, we've replaced a midfielder. We haven't actually built a squad. We haven't gone I'm using Forest as the example, Maz, but on a different level. Right? Forest have got back into European football for the first time in 25, 30 years, right? And they have gone out and bought 10 or 11 signings because they realise they're going to be playing twice a week. Spurs have done what?
Exactly.
That's Marinakis we all hate. Give me Marinakis at this stage.
And this is why, and look, this is why I guess I've had discussions with Sean where I'm like, the buck stops at the top, because after such a long period of time, because I wish Sean was here, because we always have good discussions, but after such a long period of time, it stops being the other people in the club, and you have to look up right at the top, because Levy's the guy who's employing all these people. The youth department, the scouting, this and that. They all report into someone, right? And all the results and everything gets reported at the board level. That's how every company works, near enough. The larger ones, right? And we have this failure in the transfer window every bloody year. Certainly, since the Poch era, we've had these failings where we didn't capitalise on what Poch built. And it's carried on now for almost a bloody decade. It's carried on. So where else do you look apart from right at the top? You can't blame... what I'm saying is you can't blame the employees necessarily, because how many times has he cleared the decks and started again with those people? 4 or 5 times now? since Mitchell left. I mean, how many more times is he going to clear the decks and bring more people in, like in the scouting department and the managerial department? You know, the two key elements to signing players. It's just, I'm so frustrated. And I was saying in the comments earlier, it's going to be another "I told you so" moment. And I don't take any joy in saying "I told you so" just because I'm like, oh yeah, look how great I am at predicting how bad bloody Tottenham and Levy is. But I despair that I have to keep saying it. Absolute despair. And this just reminds me of it's almost exactly the same, albeit it's at the start of the window. We had an opportunity with Harry Redknapp in 2010 when we could have bought those two players, right, to really enable Harry just to see if he can, you know, get the team over the line, at least finish second, you know, or something like that. And we didn't. We bought Zaha and Nelson. And at that point is when I was like 100% leave out, because, you know, I raised my eyebrows when he sacked Yol, right? And then when he done that to Redknapp, I was like, we're never going to be nothing under this guy. Right, we had another opportunity under Poch. He built an amazing starting 11. Right, we had an amazing opportunity to build upon his second and third finishes, to just take that next step, do what Arsenal are doing now, spend the 200-300 million, see what he can do. He was asking for the new furniture. Right, see what he can do. We didn't do it, and things ended the way they did. And then, you know, he brings in Jose and Conte. He gives them 100 to 200 million pound each, and they don't get the players that they want to come in. We're getting Jedson Fernandez's and, oh God, you know, the dross that came in through the door, Dan Jumas and stuff like that. The dross that came in, and now we're repeating it bloody again. Mate, with Frank. We wasted 400 million under that PE teacher of a manager, Ange, who's assembled one of the worst squads we've seen at Spurs for a very long time, in my opinion. I do think it's not a very good squad when we compare it to some of the good squads we had of the past. That Levy built, right? Levy did build those other squads. So why he can't assemble the same type of squad that he did under Harry and that he did under Poch again, is beyond me. Anyway, that's my rant.
Yeah, look, I mean, Dan, I'll come to you just in case anyone was wondering. There is bad news, further bad news for Spurs. Danny Ings is no longer a free transfer available to Spurs. He's signing for Sheffield United. Just as I mentioned him, it's popped up that he's signing for Sheffield United. So Danny Ings is off of the transfer table for Tottenham Hotspur this summer. I mean, Dan, Maz, listen, it's a great rant. And he's absolutely spot on. The "I told you so's" are warranted. And 6 days, 6 hours and 45 minutes to go.
It's not looking good, is it?
No.
I mean, look, when it comes down to it, I mean, I know people don't like a Levy conversation and everything and that, and there's so many of them, but at the end of the day, it goes to the top and that's where it comes from. I do believe the problem is further than Daniel Levy. The problem is Enoch Lewis at the very top. How Daniel Levy deals with what he's given, however, is a big problem as well. I think there's a couple of problems that fella definitely has. And it's like, how do I put this? I'm going to try and put this the same way roughly that I said it on Sean's show. He seems to have an addiction to every deal. It's like he's going in for a fight, like he's doing UFC as such. When the deal could be blatantly there on the table to be taken and whatever else, nope, he has to try and knock that extra bit of money off. And it doesn't seem like he does it for the club. He does it like it's something he can walk away with a win of a fight as such. That's how it comes across. We don't know how the fella thinks. I don't think I want to know how he thinks. But it seems like for him, it's always a fight. He wants to win a fight. He can't just go out there and say, right, okay, right, what do you want? Okay, job done. We could have had that deal with Eze, in my opinion, 2 months earlier. No, he didn't want to come to us. It wasn't he would have come to us. We weren't his first choice, but if we'd have put the money down and done the deal that was there on the table, would Arsenal have come in? Only time will tell. Well, it would have only said back then. I think Havertz was a big part of that. I mean, the other thing is with him is it's blatantly obvious he is not a football man. He's an accountant. And he's a good accountant at that. But on the football side, he just blatantly hasn't got a clue. He just always wants to add this, add that, add this, make it more complicated. Whereas I bet if it's some hotels out the back of the stadium, bang, he gets the job done.
Yeah.
Good and proper.
But you look at everything, Dan. Look at the stadium. Even look at the toilets in the stadium.
Yeah.
Right? I've never been to a stadium before and gone and looked and been like, bloody hell, it's nice in here. Do you know what I mean? Even the toilets are best in class. The toilets.
The other thing with him, is his reputation. No one wants to deal with him because he is just that much of whatever words you want to call him. Call him pain in the ass just to be nice for 20 past 12. That it's like he almost has to always get 12 other people involved to get this, to get that, to get this, just to win a fight. To him, it's always got to be a fight, and he's got to walk away with a look on his face like he's won something. What was the other way I said it on Sean's show? We never seem to be in control of a transfer. Arsenal, United, City, Chelsea, other big clubs out there, they're in control of that transfer. Okay, it's the ones who are selling who are the ones who, whether they sell at the end of the day. But the other big clubs, they're in control of the transfer, basically. They're going to make it happen. Levy seems like he's just always running about. He just can't seem to ever get in control of a situation on the football side. And the last thing I say to him, the thing that really, really shocks me about him actually on the football side is what I'd expect him to have, because he's definitely got it on the other side. He's got no killer instinct. When it comes to a football transfer, he hasn't got the killer instinct to just step in and say, right, I'm having that fella. Done. Whereas I bet you if it was to do with property or something like that, it's like he almost treats buying a player like he's buying a block of flats or like he's buying a house or something. I bet you if it's on the other side, he's got the killer instinct. He'll go in there, he sees a deal, he gets that job done. When it comes to the football side, he just doesn't seem to have the killer instinct. Even when it's on a plate for him, he just don't. At the end of the day, he's a businessman. He's meant for houses and properties. He's not meant for football. It's obviously he hasn't learned nothing in 25 years. I won't take it away.
Dan,
just quickly,
you know what?
Just quickly, Mads. Just quickly. Sorry, really quickly. Breaking news that Newcastle have been offered the chance to sign Dusan Vlahovic. Vlahovic.
Why haven't we signed him already? I'd rather give him a go than Solanke and Richarlison. Dan, just to back up your point, Dan, on that killer instinct. Another factor, and I think it ties in exactly to the point you were making, isn't it telling the way Paratici hasn't come back to the club in an official capacity? You would have thought, right, that where he was at the club for 2-3 years, is it 2 years he was out with us or 3 years, right? And he ripped everything. He redone all of our youth academy stuff, and he put scouts in place, etc., etc. And the first thing we do as soon as he gets charged is rip up everything he done, sack all his staff, and revert back to some other model, right, under Simon Davies. And now his ban's finished. He's just consulting with us. He's not coming back. To me, that tells you everything.
Yeah.
Because if Levy really believed in what Paratici was doing and vice versa, they'll be working together again. They'll be Paratici will be saying, right, coming in let's take off where we started or where we left off last time, and let's go. I've got players who we can bring in, etc., etc. No, hasn't come back, and that speaks volume, and that lacks killer instinct, doesn't it? Because you'd rather have Flange, who failed at Aston Villa, right, and now is failing at Spurs, because it's a cheap option.
Yeah, it is. It's just when you've got the other thing is with him is I think over the years, I think he's now out of his depth. I mean, I said this to Sean. I think he's a businessman, and on the other side, a good businessman of that. Whether people like it or not, no one can take away the basement that has been built at this place, and that is what frustrates people even more. It is a sleeping giant in the way, ready to be awakening if it's got the right person who's actually interested in football. Everything is there. On that side, he has that killer instinct. On that side, on the football side, he doesn't. I think he's actually out of his depth now. He's used to dealing with only, and I do say only very lightly, he's used to dealing with only with millionaires. Football ain't about millionaires anymore. Football's about multi-billionaires. Football ain't about billionaires that have got 2 or 3 billion in their back pocket, or even 7 billion in their back pocket. That's tuppence money to some of them still. You're talking about billionaires with 50, 60, 70, 80 billion in their back pockets behind them now. I think he's actually out of his depth. It's like me going and playing poker with 10 grand in my back pocket. Yeah, it's a nice bit to go and play poker with. When I'm sitting at a table with a person who's got £1 million in their back pocket, I ain't got a chance in hell. He's going to bully me off that table no matter way I play with my cards, no matter if I play with the cards I've got, even if I go all in. If he's just bored, he's just going to laugh at me and go all in anyway, and then still totally wipe the floor of me on the table, because you can't win those games. I think he's actually out of his depth now. He's used to dealing with millionaires, not multi-billionaires. So he's either got to get out, or he's got to get someone in there who can deal with this sort of thing.
But Dan, I tell you, I get where you're coming from, and I agree to it up to a certain point. But I'm a little bit with more on Sava's side on this. Let's exclude the 4 big clubs in England, right? Mm-hmm. Why aren't we going around in Italy and in Portugal and in Spain and bullying those other teams where we're a financial juggernaut in comparison to those clubs, and saying, all right, we'll take Lookman, how much do you want for him? 50 million euros? There you go. Money on, here's the money. Right? Or Akalouche. We've got much more money than those clubs. Than that. Why aren't we doing that? We don't even do that. And that's the problem. We're not even as Spurs fans, we're not like demanding like top elite tier players. We just want really good players that have got massive potential coming to the club.
Maz, the joke of it is, I told everybody this 18 months ago, that Italy is in serious trouble. Serious trouble. And it is really showing in the league this year. I only checked it last week, but again, there's still only about 4 clubs that have spent over 40 million in revenue. Yeah, it may say they've spent 80 million, but look at what's come in their back pocket at the same time, another 60 million. The only club out there who've got money to spend is Como at the moment, and that's because their owners are worth 40, 50 billion, the brothers. And
we just should be bullying like the teams like AC Milan and Inter. We should be bullying them, and Juventus. Yeah, we should be saying to them, "We know you need money. How much do you want for this star player, that star player?" And some people will say, "Okay, the player's got to want to go as well." But if Inter or Juventus, AC Milan say to them, "Look, you've got to go because we need the money."
Yeah, Inter couldn't even afford Lookman, for God's sake. They couldn't get the deal done. Atalanta were being a bit funny, but they were willing to do the deal, because at the end of the day, they've been a very, very good club, but they've been punching above their weight is an understatement if you go by size structure of club. They're not even 1/8 of the size of what Spurs are, We could go out there, in my opinion, and basically slam money down on that table that they have to. Even Juventus can't bully it like they used to because of the amount of debt they are in, and they are willing to get rid of good players because they need to get that wage structure down because they got themselves in trouble with it. When it comes down to the crunch, it's not, to me, this one isn't even about scouting, because you don't even need a good scout at the moment to go out there to a place like Italy. And I do always bring up Italy because it is the league in the most trouble with the money at the moment. You don't even need a bloody good scout. I mean, it's there.
Dan, can I throw a spin on it?
Taking.
Can I put a spin on it? I make you 100% right. But why not do the flip side as well as what you're saying? Why not look at who Inter Milan and AC Milan are scouting? And when they're dilly-dallying about because they can't afford the 40 million, go
and take it.
There you go. So look at Milan with Arden Jashari, for example. For weeks and weeks and weeks, it was probably about a month. Couldn't afford it. Who in the Spurs scouting team couldn't have gone, I'll tell you what, this is a player. This is 40 million euros. That's a player, right? Who right now couldn't have gone, God, Lookman. Well, listen, he wanted Inter Milan, but Inter Milan can't afford it. Let's go and test the waters. Now, I'm not sitting here saying they haven't, but it just feels to me that we're very happy to get deals done for crap like Tell, right? We're very happy to get deals done for crap. So, no offense, sorry, I know he's young, but like Gray, like Odegaard, like Richarlison, like Solanke.
No, you know what? It doesn't matter. You've said this a million times. We all said it, right? It doesn't matter how young they are. Right? The fact is they cost 40 million quid. And to pay that money, right, you don't pay that money on just potential. You pay it for how good they are at that point in time as well, right? There's a weighting to it. And Matisse Tell, for me, right, is an utter scandal. Like Bayern must be laughing at us so much. Not only did they get Kane, but they managed to flog Matisse Tell to us. So that means they basically got Kane for like 45 million or something. They're probably pissing themselves laughing. It's amazing, Sava.
They sold Tell, added 20 million to the money, and bought Luis Diaz.
Basically, we sold Harry Kane for about 45 million and Matthias Tell.
But we've got fans that want it. We've got fans that back it.
This is where it comes.
It's madness.
This is where it comes back to that thing, Sava, on where I have a debate with a lot of people. Well, a few people, and that, where I just think, I mean, how shall I put it? You can't have everything in life. You never can. Yeah, that's just, it is what it is. Deal with it, like it or lump it. Yeah, but there's nothing wrong with wanting your club to be played or treated or done in a certain way. Yeah, again, it's each their own, whatever turns you on at the end of the day. But when people are going on about, yeah, but they're youth, you got to give them a chance, this and that, whatever else, I'm not disputing none of that. And people seem to think it's a hate against Archie Gray, whatever else and stuff like that. It's bloody not. It's just the fact that we also need people there to perform now. And this club doesn't do both. Ian is 100% right on what he says when he says, get in Archie Gray, but we should have also brought in Paulinho then as such. Just
I still disagree with that.
But we don't do that. For the 40 million, I think it was terrible money. But if we was going to do one,
if you're getting Archie Gray at 10, 15 million, and you're saying, okay, cool, we're going to bring him in, put him out on loan for a few years, I've got no problem with it. Spurs are the only club in the world who would have paid 40 million for Archie Gray.
Yeah, I totally agree with it. But if we would have got him for 40 million and then got a well-known, established player for that first team for 60 million, I don't think half of us would be so pissed off with it as such.
You know what, and it's just the absolute wasting of money. Like
exactly.
Solanke, like.
But Maz, it's the other thing as well. People will go and back up these young players that we got and preach on about how great our youth academy is. What BS? If our youth academy was so good, we would have some 20-year-old players that are in it coming through into that first team. We're getting people like Grays, like Tells, like Odeberts, and they're saying, oh, it's blocking the way for the youth team. The youth academy. Well, the youth academy obviously ain't that bloody great then, is it? When players can't get in over Tell, over Gray, and over Odegaard, who look good in the last team. And then people go and then start moaning, oh, but we ain't buying Eze. We ain't getting Morgan Gibbs-White. We ain't going out for Lookman and this and that. But then they're still justifying that we want these youth players bought as well. I mean, it can't work both ways.
You're right. And I think the biggest indictment of how badly we failed for me is the fact that we have bought Tell and Odegaard, and let's group a few other players in there, Solomon, and they're not even being spoken about, or they've got no chance in getting in. Brian Hill, they've got no chance in getting in the team, right? And these are players we bought for a lot of money, right? And Frank doesn't want them.
Do you know the funny thing, man? When you say the biggest indicator of, sorry, I don't think these are exact words, but we're talking about a big indicator of the failure in our transfer dealings. Surely the biggest indicator is look how much money we have not made in the last 6 years from selling players.
Every month.
In the last 6 years.
That's another good point. I mean, you're right, Sava. You're right. It's. Sorry, you lagged there.
Yeah, in the last 6 years. So since Spurs moved into the stadium, Tottenham Hotspur have sold £310 million worth of footballers in 6 years. Right now, if you actually start averaging that out over the year, that's £50 million a year. Now, 13 of those players, right? 13 were over £10 million, right? And 96 million was all Harry Kane. So 96 million was Harry Kane. 25 million was Ollie Skip. And what was it? 18 million, whatever it was for Harry Winks. So nearly 140 million, 130 million of that 300 million, Maz, was from players from the youth team. So that means players we've actually bought and then sold, we can't make money on. That shows the failings, Maz, of the quality or the lack of quality of players we sign. We can't make money on any of them. We can't get Basuma sold. We can't get Solomon sold. We can't get Brian Hill's needed to be sold for about 3 years. We can't sell him.
We're going to give him away.
This is what we do, though. But then we go and sign more people like Tel and Odegaard, and fans go, oh, no, he'll come good. And it's like, we're not learning. We're genuinely not learning. We're genuinely not learning. And half of me thinks, do some of the fan base deserve these windows? Sorry, I know that sounds harsh, but we're not learning.
Well, look at it this way. Again, if with this youth system, if this youth system is so good and everything and that, look at Arsenal. Look what they did the other day. Did you watch that game they played the other day against Leeds? They brought on another 15-year-old player. Okay, they were 4-0 up. Smart time to do it. And he came on that pitch and he looked bloody good. When have we actually been able to bring on, I mean, a 15-year-old, that's hardly happens, but that's what, 2 or 3 times they've done it now in the past 2 years? And 2 of them are actually standing out. When have we actually been able to do that? Or even bring out look, I think someone just said something a minute ago on what you said that I said he's right. At Mark at 12:33, I think he just smashed the nail on the head completely, in my opinion. At 12:33, Mark.
Have a look.
He's one of your mods. He's one of your mods.
Oh, one sec. I'm looking. There's a lot of comments. This?
There. Tell, Odegaard and Gray were all poor and hardly played in under 21s. I mean, Gray hadn't even touched top football yet, and they aren't standout talents, but people then go and turn their nose up at the likes of Elliott. I think that just hit the nail on the head for me. I mean, I know Elliott's a young player and that, but bloody hell, I would like to see Odegaard, Gray or Tell, or do you know what? I say them or pretty much most of our team actually get into that Liverpool team, even in the subs bench if they're lucky.
He's funny, Dan. Like if you use the Harvey Elliott example, right? If we use that as an example, you got fans in this fan base that will go, oh God, Harvey Elliott, oh, what's he done? Nothing, right? And then they'll go, but give Tell, Gray and Odegaard time rather than take the guy that we've seen him develop over the last 4 years into a solid Premier League player, the standout player in the Euro under-21s. We don't want him. But tell an Odegaard, again, look at Odegaard. He's okay. Do you know what I mean? I'm not saying he's terrible, Dad. He's okay. But Odegaard's not coming on for Arsenal. Odegaard's not coming on for Chelsea or City. Newcastle aren't bringing on Odegaard's. Newcastle are bringing on Jacob Murphy's, who's better than Odegaard. But this is what we do.
How close would Gray get into the Arsenal team?
No, Maz, let me take that a step deeper. Let me
Exactly.
take that a step deeper, yeah? This might sound a bit harsh, yeah? But how close would Gray even get to their youth team?
But hang on, but Phil, no. See, this is what you don't get. What the problem that you've got, Phil, is you've backed players that aren't good enough, so you have to say these sort of things. The difference is, Gray and Odegaard might come good in the future. And I think that we all agree on the panel, right? That's what you want to see, that these guys come good in the future. But the thing
we want every player to come good, right? Every player.
Sure. But the difference is, right now, Phil, we're talking about now. Right now, these three footballers cost Spurs £110 million. Tell was 40, including the loan fee. Gray was 40, and Odegaard was what, 28, 29 million, 27 million? 110 million, Phil. Right? As a Spurs fan, buy those sorts of players, 30 million between them. Buy them for 10 million each. Put them in the youth team and say, right, let's see what they are. And nobody, let's be fair. Sorry, I'll go on a rant here. If we had signed those three at £10 million each, and you said, right, they're going to go out on loan for a year or two, no one's going to sit here and go, oh, but tell Gray and Odegaard. You go, right, they're for the future. These three were 110 million, Phil. Think what quality you can buy for 110 million pounds. We got this. So yeah, in the future, when they all come good, somebody like you will pop back on and go, oh, see, you didn't want them. But what about now? Now, 2025, 2026, these guys aren't good enough. We're a Champions League football team, Phil. Surely you get that. Surely. And I know that you have championed Tell for so long that you don't want to admit you are horribly wrong on this one. I know it's beneath you to say, yeah, I've got this wrong. But Tell isn't getting any minutes for a reason, mate. He isn't good enough. Sorry for the rant. I just don't get it.
The other thing is, we are in that much of a position now where people want Basuma gone. I think he's a very good player on his day. I don't think he's got the right mentality. I think he's another player in life that, to an extent, I think we, pardon me, that we've ruined a bit because we played him totally out of sync with three managers we've had because he's not a defensive player. But his mentality has done him absolutely no favours as well, and he does need to go. But when he has been played the right way, like he did in the last few games of the Europa and that, he actually looked like a pretty solid player because he is on his day. But his mentality ain't right. But we can't afford to sell him now, the way I see it. Not unless we bring in another centre mid or we get that number 10. If we get that number 10, then we've got cover for the midfield as well. But if Basuma goes, and then we're still relying on Sarr up front with maybe a bit of Bergville, it then drops down to Archie Gray. And I'm sorry, for me, if we're playing Real Madrid or Juventus or Inter Milan or Barcelona, the list can go on and on and on and on. I don't want Bergville or Archie Gray on that pitch. Bergville, for me, has a lot of potential, and I think he's going to be good, but there's still a hell of a lot to be learned there, yeah? Right. I don't want players on the pitch like that against Real Madrid. And that's no disrespect to Bergville. I think he's got the first two parts, but I think he needs to get his final direct ball or his shot into gear as such. He's only young. He needs to get experience. I don't want those players on the pitch against bloody Real Madrid.
Mark my words, Dan, right? That let's say no one gets injured from now until the end of the season, but obviously Maddison and Cooley are out. Mm-hmm. How long is it going to take for teams to figure out that this is how you beat Spurs? Yep. We'll do a low block. We'll put two players on Kudus, right? We'll make sure we man mark Paulinho, right? And we'll double up on Porro. How long do you think it's going to take for teams to start doing that and causing us real problems because they know that we don't have quality around the pitch?
And we have no creativity whatsoever
Exactly.
up there. Because the other thing is, again, it's another thing that a lot do at Spurs. I will say, so far, so good. Well done, Thomas Frank. Well done, the entire team. So far, so good. But Sarr is not your number 10 and your creativity man. He is there for the meantime because there is nothing else to put there. Bergvall is not going to get you. He's not going to change a game for you against bloody Real Madrid or Chelsea or whatever else. Okay, he might have a good time. He might have a good chance when out of nowhere sort of thing. But players like that, they are not going to win you games. We need experience out there now. And we need to stop going for kids as far as I'm concerned. We need people that can create something. We need someone on the wing who can beat their man, who can also score a goal and assist. Because at the moment, I mean, Richie, people talking about him like he's the next R9 basically and everything.
Oh.
I mean, that goal he scored was as good as Gareth Bale's goal against Liverpool. I will not take it away. But how long before the man's sitting in a wheelchair on the bloody side again because he's bust one of his kneecaps or both of them or whatever? We all know he's as brittle as Solanke, not a consistent goal scorer. Anyone on the left, all right, you can say Johnson. If they double up on Kudus, you can say there's a chance that Johnson tips in there and gets a goal here and there, sort of thing. But in a game that's important, where he's going to get marked as well, he ghosts the game as well already. We are in serious trouble up front, and we have no creativity, bar maybe Porro, Kudus, and a bit of Benton Court, and that's not even proper creativity.
Dan, it's what I said to Connor earlier. What will happen is I think we'll have a very good start to the season. I do. And I think that what we'll start to see is that the lack of squad depth and the lack of quality will show when we have to play 2 games a week and we pick up 2 or 3 injuries. Now, Don't get me wrong. I don't think we're going to get ripped apart when we get injuries. I don't think we're going to suddenly start losing every game. But what we're going to start to see is if you lose a Kudus, a lot of the game plan goes out the window. If you lose a Paulinho, the drop off to Archie Gray in DM is going to be absolutely frightening. So I think what's going to happen is everyone's going to say, don't worry, don't worry, don't worry, don't worry, because we'll win 4 or 5 of our first 6 or 7 games. And then I think as you start playing in the Champions League and you have to start playing every 3 or 4 days, I think then we're going to start to see how the club goes. See, look, again, like Phil, you don't get it. See, you just don't get it. Phil, there are going to be games where you don't need a number 10. There are going to be games where you're playing against a low block and you need creativity. This is, look, Phil, I'm going to call it, I'll call you out. I love you. You've been to my house. I love you to bits. But it's fans like you that deserve windows like this. Sorry, I'll call it out. If that's harsh, I'm harsh. You deserve these windows because everything you say is copium. Everything you say is copium. How can you not see how small the squad is, Phil? How are you not seeing that 2 or 3 injuries and we're down to not having a bench? Oh, Thomas Frank will surprise us with some of these players this year. The geezer isn't a magician. He's a great coach. He's not a miracle worker. Right? He's not turning water into wine. Stop this. Stop this whole thing that stop this whole thing that every single player is going to turn into an absolute brilliant footballer. And again, look at this. Window ain't finished. I can't judge it. Oh, mate, I'll say it. Grow up. How is every other Spurs fan realizing what a shit show this window is, mate? Right now, anything we do is this is now, guys, at panic stations. Do you know what this is the equivalent, guys? This is now the equivalent of anyone we bring in is the equivalent as, fuck, it's Christmas Eve and I have not got my wife a present.
You just took the words out of my mouth. That is exactly what I was going to say.
What am I doing? Fuck, it's Valentine's Day. It's midnight. The only place I can get a card is going to be from the petrol station, right? That's where Spurs are. But what fans like this, I'll call it out. Fans like this deserve it because you know what? They'll go, oh, Spurs panicked in the last week, in the last 6 days of the window. See, good window. We rescued it. No. Where's the planning? Where's the planning, Phil? Why on earth is a Champions League club waiting until the last 6 days of the transfer window. How are grown adults going, no, can't judge it yet? This is an absolute fucking shambles, Phil. Spurs' squad is tiny going into the Champions League. This is fucking ridiculous.
Yeah.
I just don't understand, Dan. Sorry, guys. Sorry, I know I'm venting. I just do not understand how these people are seeing the same thing as us and excusing it. Oh, but the window's not shut. What are we going to do in the next 6 days, Phil, that's going to change it? We now need to bring in players just to replace the ones we've lost. Not even bring... Right now, Spurs... Sorry, guys. I know I'm talking a lot. So sorry, right? Right now, this summer, Spurs should have gone, right, we're in the Champions League. Let's go and bring in 5 or 6 bodies to add to the squad we've got. Nope. Let's lose Maddison through injury. Let's lose some that we knew was going. And we'll just replace them. It is diabolical. And then you've got fans saying, I can't judge it. I can't judge. Well, I fucking can. I am. I can and I am. I have my moment of weakness. Dan knows. I have my moment of weakness this summer. No more. No more. Right? I want players like Elliott. I want players like Malik Fofana. But now these players make it, okay, those players we should have been buying on top of the Savios and the Ezes to build a squad. Sorry.
Is that the Fofana from Monaco when he was there?
Fofana's at Lyon.
Wasn't there another Fofana that we were talking about last season from Monaco that went to AC Milan?
Oh, yeah. You're thinking of the centre mid, Fofana, yeah.
Yeah, we can do with him as well.
Sorry, I'm sorry for the rant, Maz. I don't understand how we can. Listen, if Spurs had signed Eze and Savio, right? Maz,
we'll be on cloud line.
I'd turn around and go, fair play. All right, we didn't go and buy the numbers that we need, but we've bought quality. Right now, with 6 days to go, these same people are going, maybe we get Rodgers. Oh, fuck off. What part of you thinks we're getting Morgan Rodgers with 6 days to go?
No chances. That's basically their star player now, isn't he?
Only if we slam 100 million on that table there and then with no piss balling about. That is the only way.
You know what I don't understand? And it may be because the Man City relationship, but why the hell didn't we get Grealish? Like, why? Why would he want to go to Everton? This is madness. How can we lose out on Grealish?
Maz, he wasn't good enough. So a lot of the fans, I know it's not down to the fans to decide what happens. But when me and Sava said this, and didn't we, Sava? We said this like literally at the start of the window. Maybe we should go. Maybe we should go and have a look at him because he wants to get game time. The World Cup's coming up and everything. We brought him up and spoke about him enough times, and so many people turn around. Don't want him here. He's a pisshead. He's not good enough. He's not this. He's not that. Well, he's better.
It's one of the most similar players to Maddison that we could easily. Well, I say easily. We could have got. And he can play on the left as well. It's.
I'm just as well.
Just when you think Spurs can't exasperate you, I mean, it happens every season, multiple times in the season. But it's just, you know what? And what really frustrates me as well is I've listened to a lot of Sava this summer. I've listened to a lot of Sean, and obviously you guys, the Spurs 5 things. And what I come away with is thinking, hold on a minute, how can 5 blokes on the internet come up with a brilliant transfer list, right? Of not just those players that we talk about regularly, but you guys have mentioned 24 different other players from around Europe that all been snapped up by these other clubs, yet Spurs can't do it. Right? And you're not even full-time employees of Tottenham. You know, you're not in the scouting. You know, you're not working on it day in, day out. And Spurs can't do it.
I mean, there's other players out there for the taking as well. There's one that I keep going on about, and I think he's he's improved a lot at Atalanta, and I also think he's got a lot more to give, and that's at De Ketelaere. I've watched him play quite a few times, and I think the only thing about him is he's a bit like Maddison. In other words, he's not a physical player. But then how many number 10 playmakers have actually been physical players? They're not usually. I think, and again, that's another one. I think we could go there, stick 45 million on that table and be willing to pay, say, 35 up front, maybe get pushed another 5 million forward, and we'd get that job done. And he's something that we can get hold of. I personally believe we can offer more money than Atalanta. Yes, we can offer Champions League as well. And there are players there blatantly out there for the taking. And if we can spot these players, okay, we don't know whether they would want to come or not, but you know my attitude, money talks. I don't particularly want to come, but there's another 50 grand. They're not right. There's another 20 grand. You come in or not? Okay, let's get the deal done then. And I think that works with a lot of people. Money talks at the end of the day, and I think that just proved it with Arsenal and other things as well. Sometimes it won't always do the job, but a lot of time, money bloody talks. And there are players out there for the taking. And it's exactly what you said, Maz. If we can do it on Sava's channel, if we can do it on Sean's channel, on my channel, if they can do it on bloody Tottenham 5 and everything, and us three can sit here, I bet you if you give us 15 minutes to go and have a look through the system and that, we could each come up with 5 or 6 players that Spurs could more than likely get and would improve our team as well. But the scouting isn't even that hard this year, really, unless you're looking for your Bergvalls or whatever else and that. It's on the bloody plate. Lookman, why don't we go? Oh, he wasn't very good in England. Oh, yeah, and look how he's come up leaps and bounds. Look what he's done in Champions League. Look what I know it's a different league.
All day.
Exactly.
Can I just say, Dan?
Why don't we get Rashford on loan? It's better than Solanke and Richie.
Yeah, but
I
again,
mean, I'm not. Look, but
our
Sava,
fans don't want these players, Maz. Our fans.
Sava, look, I know I mentioned.
Everyone.
I know I mentioned, like, I think on the last show, I just sort of mentioned Ericsson and Mario Götze, right? But what I was trying to get to is that there's options out there, right, that we could go and get on loan to plug a gap. Not Ericsson, because obviously he's got medical issues and stuff, but Rashford, Asensio, like you guys said earlier, Asensio is a perfect fit for Spurs. And I would wager that he would love to come to Tottenham, especially how we're playing now. That, you know, the fact that we won a cup, the fact that we're in the Champions League, why wouldn't he want to come? I think even Rashford would come. I'm not saying that they are my players that I absolutely want at Spurs, but they can do a job for us until we get our permanent long-term future player coming through. But we don't consider these players, and I don't get why, because they're better than what we've got. They're certainly better than Tell, and they're certainly better than Odobert.
And I do need to end the show, by the way, so I need to go to the dentist in a minute. Don't worry for all those concerns. It's just a checkup. That's it. Everything is fine. The key thing for me is I was talking with Perchy yesterday on our show yesterday about this, Maz. We said, if you notice Spurs, it's not even that we don't have a long-term plan. We can't even get the short-term plan right. We can't even go and get right. What's a really good 6-month loan to cover this position for a season or half a season? We can't even do that properly. We really can't. But listen, I am going to end the show there, guys. First and foremost, big up to Costas, who's become a new YouTube channel member. Big up to you, my man. I really appreciate you. There will be a channel member only show this Friday. So please look out for that. You are more than welcome to join that. As I always say, we are sponsored now by okjersey.com. So if anyone would like a really good replica jersey, they're about £15. Please scan the QR code or go to okjersey.com. They've got hundreds and hundreds of different types of shirts, retro, really cool ones, some that look all a bit funky for me, but some people will love them. And when you're asked to type in for a coupon, just say Sava, S-A-V-V-A. Believe it or not, I know most people spell it with 1 V, but it's 2 Vs, not a W. It's Sava. Big up to all of you. I am going to now send you over to Sean. on the Spurs Talk Show. When you get there, just say Savarade, #shit window. Savarade, #shit window. Take care, everyone. Much love. Thank you to Danny. Thank you to Maz. Thank you to Connor and also to Manny. Take care. I'll be back later tonight. Who knows? We might have signed someone. See you later.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, Trevor. Bye.
Come on, you Spurs.